Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, the weekly video where we ditch the scripts and just have a natter about things we like in games. Or, as is the case this week, things in games that were so terrifying we were just like, nope, I'm not playing anymore. This nightmare fuel is too much to handle. Let me off this hell train. You know, because it's Halloween and everything. I'll go first, just to get this out of the way. So, some video game nightmare fuel that I just could not handle is not even from a horror game. It's from Skyrim.
Okay. I think
my favourite game to talk about.
Yeah.
Surely you're the one dishing out the nightmare fuel in Skyrim.
Oh, usually I am, Dan, yes. Nightmare specifically.
Put some clothes on, man.
When people are asleep in Skyrim, I like to, tiptoe into their houses and just put a little knife through their throat.
Oh.
Plus 15 times.
Like to end their nightmares.
Yes, that's right. I wouldn't class myself as arachnophobic. Like, I don't like spiders at all. Like, I would never pick one up, but
right.
I can put a glass on one and slip a magazine under it and put it outside.
Yeah.
So, I would say I'm 5 out of 10 arachnophobic.
Right.
But the frostbite spiders in Skyrim are horrible.
They are horrible.
But I'm not talking about normal Skyrim here. I'm talking about Skyrim VR.
Yeah.
No, the first time I played Skyrim VR was at E3, and it was like it was one of the earlier levels, one of the earlier ruins, and I put the headset on. I was like, oh my god, wow, this is amazing. I'm inside Skyrim. I had the move controllers. I was firing arrows. I was like hurling magic out my hands. You can aim in both directions, unlike the normal version of the game. And it was just as magical as that sounds. And then I found myself in the bit, it's that mission towards the start where you have to retrieve like the golden claw for the first for that first innkeeper whose name I've forgotten. Anyway,
there's that guy stuck in a
he's stuck in a web.
Teased with webs to begin.
Yes, you know what's happening, and you get the regular frostbite spiders. It's the way they kind of drop from the ceiling as well, just kind of like that. But this was a giant one. There are giant frostbite spiders in Skyrim.
Yeah.
And it's the way they come down from the ceiling, you know they're going to be there, and you look up and you can see them, and you know that as soon as you step forward a particular number of steps, the game will trigger the frostbite spider coming down. And one of the things about VR is that it gives you a sense of scale that you just don't get when you're playing games regularly. And so I was able to see how big the giant frostbite spiders are. And they're really big. They're probably, their bodies alone, I would say like 8 feet tall.
Oh my god.
So, and that's not counting the fact that their legs then come out of their body and like arch around. So the arch of their legs, probably about 10 feet off the floor.
Yeah.
And it's the speed at which they move as well, and the sound they make.
Yeah.
So there was this frostbite spider, I would say, and it seemed like it was about 10 feet in front of me. It was massive. I was just hurling fire at it, hoping it was going to die quickly. And all of a sudden it just scuttled up towards me in that horrible, quick, slightly too quick way that they do. Yeah. And its eyes were just right in front of my face, its little fangs and its eyes going, and the little pincers on its thing then it did the thing where they like leer up at you, like the legs go, and I was just looking up at this thing. And I couldn't handle it. I was like looking the other way, just like shooting my flames like that, like the heroic dragonborn I am.
Magic come out your hand.
And it was horrible.
Yeah.
Like I've never really had a problem with fighting spiders in video games before. I don't like spiders, but this in VR with it scuttling right up and above me. I mean, I played a fair bit of Resi 7 in VR. And nothing that's in that game comes close to how a giant frostbite spider in VR makes me feel.
Yeah.
And I can't play those spider caves in VR on Skyrim, just can't do it.
Yeah.
I have to, if I'm playing Skyrim in VR, just not do those bits, basically. And I just couldn't handle the spiders.
So my nightmare fuel comes from a game which I think I've explained on the channel before, I do not like. Mine is from the 2010 game Kane and Lynch 2, Dog Days.
Oh, I know what this is going to be.
There's a point, and I didn't like, let me be clear, I didn't like the game, anyway, I didn't like the first game. I was kind of there for the first game. There were some stylish bits. It's from Hitman developer IO. I was into it. It had it referenced movies like Heat, big fan of Heat. But just the two central characters were so unpleasant. And you've got Lynch is kind of like balding, mullet, overweight guy, really schlubby and horrible and violent. And then a slightly better looking guy with more hair who's basically the same. And so in the second game, they split up for years and then they come back together. I think they're in Shanghai. And for whatever reason, they're being chased by basically the entire underworld. And the bit of the game which made me put down the pad and not come back, so I did finish the game in the end, but there was a full-on was you get captured at one point by the underworld and you wake up, you're Lynch, you wake up in a bin. You are completely naked and covered in cuts from a box cutter, from like a Stanley knife,
that's
all over your body. Remember, this game is being played in third person, so your over-the-shoulder view now is a paunchy, bald head, mullet, smeared with blood and gashes all over your completely naked body, and just a small digitized area in the front of the crotch. And so you walk through trying to find the source of these screams, and it's Kane, it's your partner, and you knocked Kane out. This is why you're in this mess. You knocked Kane out when you were kind of cornered by the underworld, by the gangs, because your girlfriend, Lynch's girlfriend, was being held at gunpoint. So you knocked out Kane and because you love your girlfriend. So you go and the first thing you do is you go into this room where he's being tortured in a chair.
You still got the pad in your hands at this point.
At this point, I wanted to see where it was going,
And I find clothes.
And I was kind of thinking that, but also it looks so, you're completely naked and you're covered in cuts. Everything seems painful.
The whole slip on the tiles or something. I seem to remember the sound of the tiles.
What happens is you go into this room where Kane is being tortured and you surprise the man who's torturing him, the torturer, if you will. And you just sort of land your smeared, slimy, wriggling, fat body on top of him and you grab his neck and there's a bit of a struggle on the floor as you crunch this guy out. And then you get Kane up and then he's just in a chair bound behind the back, also covered in cuts and blood, just streaks of blood.
Is he also naked?
Big gashes, big pixelated bit over his crotch. You kind of untie him. He's a bit angry with you for knocking him out. And then the really disgusting, horrible put down the pad point is you then go around the corner and Kane says, "Don't look." And the girlfriend that you wanted to save is just been disposed of, over a bowl toilet, the ones that you sometimes might find in campsites in Europe, where it's just a porcelain hole in the ground and her naked corpse is just there. And then I put the pad down.
Yeah. So that was your nightmare fuel that you just couldn't handle.
And I think about it quite often.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah, everything looks so painful. Also, it's so horrible. I get the idea of games should be more than just power fantasies for dudes and stuff. But this was so far away from a power fantasy. Why would I want to engage with this at all in any way? Would you like to be one of two sliced up, bleeding, overweight, middle-aged, failed criminals walking naked through just a world of agony? No, I wouldn't like that.
I'm already two of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Lee, you pick which ones you think I am. People at home, but yeah.
So I don't play horror games. That's obviously now known on the channel. I really don't play horror games. As close as I've ever gotten is BioShock. That is my idea of a horror game. Now, it's actually BioShock Infinite that this is taken from, which in itself actually wasn't scary. Rapture was really ominous and depressing. It was quite a scary place to be. You arrive in the bathysphere and straight away roses on top, hitting it. It was horrific. BioShock Infinite probably is one of my favorite openings to a game ever. Kind of tails off towards the end, but the opening is incredible. You then realize the game's incredibly confusing. There's a million doors and alternative realities, and they explore one in the Burial at Sea DLC, which is basically it shows that the same timelines are all happening. Instead of being BioShock Infinite, it's now the original BioShock. You're actually in Rapture, and it's a year before BioShock takes place. So was it 1959? And it's Brooker DeWitt is a detective, and the whole thing is film noir. And Elizabeth is actually a femme fatale, and she's hired Booker DeWitt. Now, as the DLC, as the story of it progresses, you get captured by Atlas, and he is looking for like the secret code. He calls it the ace in the hole. The ace in the hole is evidently the would you kindly idea, which you then see in BioShock. So the whole thing sort of comes full circle. But to try and get the information out of you, you are captured by Atlas, and he has to threaten you. And this is in first person. So you've been captured, you are tied to a chair, and he is threatening you with a transorbital lobotomy.
What is that?
So to lobotomize somebody, you basically place a needle through the middle of your eye, because obviously that is hollow.
No, it's fine.
And then you, with a hammer, and that pop. So obviously,
the socket, the bone.
Just straight into the brain, bet you, and lobotomize
I
you.
heard that the bone behind the socket, or back there, is the thinnest part of the skull. That's why they.
That's a little. It's like a really long thin needle, just a little. It's a tiny little hammer, and you just go dink. And you are there in first person, and he is coming at you with this needle, and it is. I'm a bit funny about eyes anyway. I can't play Prey because of it. That whole plugging it into your eyeball thing is messed up. I'm definitely not even touching Dead Space. Don't even look at me. The drill.
That was a lobotomy as well. Yeah. It was the same.
Well, I mean, that was
through the pupil.
Yeah, that was.
Now I'm thinking about it.
See, it's eyes. There's something about eyes because I wear contact lenses, and that's sort of fine. And I can kind of deal with it if my contact lens sort of rolls up, because they go like little, and you've got to try and get them down.
This episode is now the nightmare.
When they shatter in your eye. Even the plastic ones.
I've never worn contacts. I've never even.
Have you not? I've been wearing them since I was 14.
Never even considered wearing contacts.
Are we done with this now? What happens at the end of
Well, basically, he realizes, she's like, go on, do it, because I don't care if I'm going to lose my feelings, because the lobotomy it basically just turns you into a bit of a nothing. And she's like, fine, do it, because you won't get what you want, and I'm miserable anyway, so bring it on. So he's like, I've got a better idea. And if you've played BioShock, he then wheels out one of the little sisters, and then proceeds to just jam the needle straight into her eye and just threaten her until you remember.
You get to choose.
No, you then have a sort of a vision, and then you then know where this ace in the hole is. And you're like, I know where it is, just stop, and I'll go get it. The whole, anything with eyes, lobotomies, especially, no, I can't think of it, sorry. No. Just eyes are awful, don't do that.
Way! This is stupid. This is a stupid one for me, isn't it? I mean, I hate this time of year. I hate it.
So do I.
I hate it. It's like Christmas for horror. Like, people are like, let's do something and get scared. Let's do a scary thing. Let's watch a scary movie. Let's dress up.
The Scrooge of Halloween.
All scary. I'm not. I don't mind people doing it. They can go and enjoy themselves. It's just when people want me to be involved, because I'm famously quite scared, and people enjoy that. And it's against my human rights, Dan. But, I mean, I could have picked, I didn't know what to pick for this, because I won't start a scary game. The only scary games that I've started have been for work because you have made me do it. So
you've had a good time though, right?
Oh no, I really haven't. But I've picked two of the worst, two that stood out to me as the worst. Funnily enough, they are both PSVR games, just like Rob's. And I mean, it does add an extra dimension being in VR, because you get the scale of everything. Oh yeah, I didn't even know what I'd done. You got the scale of everything. There's stuff behind you, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to have two entries because my time with both games was incredibly short. The first one being Resident Evil 7, when they announced it at E3. They announced it, and it turns out, hey, it's on the show floor. You can actually play a little bit of it in VR. Whoa! And of course, Nath and Rob and Holly, not you, Dan, you weren't there, so you get a pass. They're like, well, Dave obviously has to do it. Come on, Dave. And we go through this every time. Every time there's a scary game, they're like, you going to play it? And I'm like, no, of course I'm not going to play it. And they go, like, you know you've got to play it. You're going to have to play it. And we get into this argument where eventually I just get beaten down and I have to go and play a scary game, which I hate. And Resident Evil 7 was one such game. Both of these videos, right, the funny thing about this is that both of these videos are terrible. I went and watched them before recording this to remind myself about the experience. And I realised that in neither video do you really see anything of the game because I'm so terrified.
View of it.
And I think people get quite annoyed sometimes. They're like, oh, come on, this guy's so scared. Resident Evil 7, I had to do my thing where I can only go very, 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 very slowly. And Nath is prodding me the whole way, which makes me angry because I want to go very slow. I don't want to be doing it at all. So if I have to do it, I should get to go at my own pace. Absolutely nothing scary happened in that video whatsoever.
Like the Teddy fall down.
Oh, with a baby. There was like a baby, like a doll, fell. And that was scary, and I tried to kick it.
That was amazing though, there was like a dark hole in front of you and a ladder leading down, and you just could not go down that ladder.
No, and then I must have been like too close to the edge or accidentally pushed forward a little bit because it then did the animation of me going down the ladder, which freaked me out. I think if I could have had a moment more to think about it, I probably would have gone down. But because the game was just like, down you go, I was like, nope, I don't. And I'm glad I didn't, because I found out what's down the bottom of that ladder.
Just a man with his face.
Just a man with his face.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Andre? Was it my friend who had been walking around with me?
He's facing the wrong way, and you put your hand on
I
his
wouldn't
shoulder.
have. To be honest, at that point, there's no way I would have done it. No way. So that was Resident Evil 7. The other game, though, and I think this one does take the cake, is Rush of Blood, the Until Dawn Rush of Blood, a VR game, which I had to play at Gamescom, which this time Holly and Nath made me play. And I was very scared, but I couldn't have predicted. I can't even really relate to you why it was so scary. And I watched the video and it's hard to see, and I started laughing, and I think I was so scared that I was actually laughing to try and not be so scared, but also at how scared I was. I almost had like an out-of-body experience where I could witness how scared I was, and I was laughing at how scared I was. But that game, the scary thing about Rush of Blood, where Resident Evil 7 was like this like overtly scary place, it kind of like obeyed the rules of physics. It was grounded in reality, a little bit, whereas Rush of Blood was just like you were on a nightmare roller coaster where it just could do anything it wanted. It was because there were no rules. You weren't in a real place. It was just like, here's a woman right in your face, which is one of the first things it did. And it was like an unbelievable horror abattoir of these pigs that were just like in pain, just squealing, and blood everywhere. And I had these guns that just felt like toy guns. I was trying to shoot everything because everything was scary. There were specific targets, but I just wanted to shoot everything, and nothing was working. And then I'm faced with these massive, like, meat saws that are for me, the player that I had to get out of the way of, and they're huge in VR. You can see they're like this big across, and I just couldn't. I can't tell you why it was so scary. I have no wish to ever play that again, ever.
Didn't it last the game, that demo you played lasted like 2.5 minutes?
It was about 2.5 minutes, and I think one of the reasons, because like I said, in Resident Evil I could go at my own speed. On this you're on a horror train, like a roller coaster. There is no slowing down, there's no stopping, there's no getting off. It was just, there is only forwards, and that's like the worst thing for me, is I have to like peel the plaster like hair by hair, like ooh, and this was just like it was putting new plasters on and ripping them off, just like, come on. Oh god, that was so bad. Just giant pigs just squealing and
what's so scary about giant squealing pigs?
There's nothing scary about the pigs. It was the whole atmosphere. They were like in pain and just being murdered and massive, and I just could only travel towards them. It wasn't good.
What's not to love?
Just watch this back. All of that stuff. I quite liked nothing. Even the loading screen was terrifying. The loading screen scared me. I literally screamed at the loading screen. It was it was like a doll's head that was right in your face.
When did you know about the game? It was the loading screen.
What's worse, eyes or dinosaurs?
Well, I was.
Dinosaurs have eyes.
Well, I was. Anyone who watches the YouTube channel probably knows I'm actually really scared of dinosaurs.
I've already made the joke that
I hate dinosaurs.
but I've got some good news for you.
Everyone says this.
Yeah.
I'm very aware. I don't like dinosaurs. They really scare me. However, I didn't pick dinosaurs and dinosaurs-based games because I successfully played Jurassic World.
Of course.
Yeah.
Successfully. You told us a story about it. It didn't seem
Look,
enormously
the
successful.
T-Rex got out. It ate everyone. And then the Raptor boys, the Frilly boys, fought. It was all awful.
The Frilly boys.
Diplo.
That's Dippy.
Diplo.
No, Dippies are good.
Dilophosaurus, that's the one.
Yeah, Frilly boys. They were all like, there was Frilly boys, there was Hammer boys, Spiky boys, Tail boys, Long boys,
I think dinosaurs should be scared of you.
Dinosaurs.
Fast boys.
What about the flying?
Were there any girls?
There's no flying ones in it. There's no flying dinosaurs in Jurassic World.
No wing boys.
There are no wing boys.
You know, in Jurassic Park, they're actually all female dinosaurs. So you could have, you might.
Well, how do you know,
wrong.
Dave? Did you go around and lift up all their skirt?
Wow.
Engineered it that way. It's actually very simple.
Dave, life found a way though, didn't it?
Yeah.
You skipped ahead. We were doing a scene.
I'm also scared of Dr. Seuss, but there aren't any video games featuring Dr. Seuss, so I'm okay.
You scared of
Green eggs and you know how people are scared of clowns?
like his characters?
Dr. Seuss,
Do you know, even
same
more
thing.
sinister than that?
Completely freaks me the hell
Thing
out.
1 and Thing 2, you should read that one. It's
No, it's hard. Exactly.
Too
The
weird.
artwork is creepy. The stories, but luckily, there's never been like an open world Dr. Seuss RPG that I've got to review for access, so I'm fine.
Oh, hang on. Was this news just in?
No. So there you go. I don't like dinosaurs, but I conquered that fear.
Right then, any developers who are watching, we need an open world RPG starring a Christmas-hating velociraptor in a big stripy hat, please. Then you're streaming it, Holly. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let us know in the comments what video game nightmare fuel made you turn your console off out of sheer terror, and hit that notification bell to make sure you stay up to date with all our videos. Happy Halloween.
For the players.